Welcome to Talks from the Essex Hotel with your hosts, Sarita Patel and Latham Woodward. The views expressed on this show are those of our guests and are not necessarily in line with our opinions, but can be. Please enjoy this program and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. And welcome back to Talks from the Essex Hotel. I'm Latham Woodward with you, my co-host, Sarita Patel. Say hi, Sarita.
Hey, Latham. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for asking. Over our little week-long break, we discussed what we're going to be doing for future podcasts. And we're going to be diving in a little more to one of the ones where we had an episode called, what was it, The Birth of an Entrepreneur or something like that?
Yeah, something. It was about entrepreneurship.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So what we're going to be doing is diving into that a little more and tracing all the places Sarita worked at. We can maybe get to stuff I worked at later, but that's not important right now because she seemed to be in the zeitgeist moment a lot of times. So today we are going to be talking about McDonald's, where she first worked as, I think, what did you say, a 15-year-old manager?
I was a manager by the time I was 16. I started working there when I was 13.
Okay. So for those of you who eat at McDonald's, but perhaps you don't know about McDonald's, it was founded by Richard and Maurice McDonald in San Bernardino, California. And then it was later acquired by Ray Kroc. And if you haven't seen that movie, I suggest you go see that movie because it's pretty true to life. And Ray Kroc was kind of a hard ass and kind of stole it from the brothers Richard and Maurice. And but the rest is history. Now they currently are making about $25 billion a year, and they're one of the world's largest employers, believe it or not.
Yes, they are.
It's incredible. So Sarita, give us a little more background, and then we'll dive into the questions, okay?
Okay, so out of that entrepreneur episode that we did, we get calls from people. And again, this was one of those situations where a lot of people didn't know that I worked at McDonald's. But what I did was I laid every place out that we talked about in our podcast. Right. And I really started to put the years that I was there. And then I lined them up with what was happening with world events, right, just to see if there was any connection. And there was. But the thing about McDonald's is I started working there in 1977, and Ray Kroc died in 1984. Did I start? Yeah, 1977. So that's the year that Star Wars came out, and everyone knows that I didn't see Star Wars. I just completely missed that movie phenomena because I was so busy working and studying in the library. But while I was at McDonald's, the franchise owners, who were the parents of my best friend, what I watched was McDonald's changed from a family franchise-owned group to a corporate group. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes total sense because now they're definitely a corporate entity.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all the same everywhere, basically, including foreign countries, but foreign countries have their little items that are a little bit different, let's say.
Yeah. So McDonald's in the beginning was just like, they consisted of local owner-operators. The franchise owners had an incredible amount of independence. Personal relationships were really important. Often the franchise owners were long-term operators. And, Ray Kroc had this philosophy of the three-legged stool, which was, you've got the corporation, you've got the franchisees, and the suppliers. And what I really saw when I was there was that the independence of the franchisees was lessening while the power was shifting towards the corporation, which owned the land underneath the buildings, and the suppliers were actually gaining a lot more control with pricing, with deliveries. And, I didn't really think about this until I kind of deeply dove back and said, when did I start noticing a shift there? Because, I was 13 to 16, so I was just trying to get as many shift hours as possible, make as much money as I could. At that time, I think we were being paid $3.15 an hour, which was great pocket change for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I also started to notice there was more stress on the owner-operators, Bess and Jim, and I couldn't really tell why. But when I turned 15, I started working in their office. And so that's when I sat next to the bookkeepers, and I would organize files and, just help around. I was like the Girl Friday there. And I started to notice the stress amp up in the office. And it was really because their financial situation had changed from having a lot of autonomy and a lot of cash coming in to now how do we manage these incoming unexpected expenses?
Okay, so to me, it sounds like we've jumped ahead a little bit here.
Sorry.
No, it's nothing to apologize for because I know the story. Mm-hmm. But the Morrow's family was your friend's father and mom, Bess and
Jim.
Mm-hmm. And they, at one time, at least what I read, owned up to 8 franchises?
It was 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there were, you sent me an email or a text saying that he was named Businessman of the Year by some organization.
The Chicago Association.
Yeah.
And he won the Ray Kroc Award, which is like winning an Oscar.
And you say he invented the comic book characters in McDonald's, the Hamburglar and
Ronald McDonald,
all the rest of them. And he was a pretty incredible guy. He sent me a clipping of the Morrow's Mansion, which by today's standard, not very attractive, but big, very big, and kind of gothic modern. But it looked nice. Back in the 1970s, I bet this was the thing.
Well, we called it the Maris McMansion.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's where it came from.
And they called it the McMansion because it did have arches.
It had arches.
Yeah, that were slightly modified from the McDonald's arches, but that was the symbol.
So the story is even more interesting in that the Marises, they were kind of rags to super riches, maybe not rags, but middle class to super wealthy. Mm-hmm. And then when all of this corporate takeover went down, they went bankrupt.
Yeah, they basically lost their fortune.
That is incredibly bizarre.
And their status, and because the corporation just decided that these people were no longer a part of their program. They had too much power.
They were running it their way.
They were running it their way. They were very successful. They inspired other franchise owners to really take this position personally, know. And we see that today, right? People who have corporate jobs, and they're talking about it now a lot more. But, people just basically gave their lives, their loyalty, their everything for these corporations. And once the corporation is done with them, for whatever reason, whether they're going to downsize and sell the company to a private equity firm, it changes the dynamic within the organization quickly.
Do you know if that was a Ray Kroc motivated thing? Did he motivate the big change, or was that a corporate board once they went very corporate?
So that would, require who knows? Ray Kroc died in 1984. That was the year after I left McDonald's and was in college. So, but he had also stepped away from day-to-day operations at around 1977.
Well, he had begun to lose a lot of money on the San Diego Chargers.
Oh, God, that's right.
So, that's what happened there. So how was it at the beginning? And that was 77. And then how many years did you work there? Like 3, 2?
No, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 6 years.
6 years?
Yeah, 13.
To 16. To 19.
To 18.
Wow. 5
until
years.
I went to college.
Okay. So it was, you went after school every day or something like that, or?
Yeah, I just took as many shifts as I could. I wasn't in any sports. So I basically made McDonald's my lifelong career pattern. So
Okay.
I didn't want to go to college, as I mentioned in the last interview. I wanted to become a McDonald's manager and then eventually own my own McDonald's. That's what I wanted to do. And my parents made me go to college, thank God. Because if I hadn't gotten out of there, I would have gotten wiped away just like the Marises did.
That's a good point, because that whole arc disappeared.
It disappeared.
So within the structure of the Marises' ownership, there in Chicago, and you're still friends with their daughter, right?
Yeah, she's one of my best friends.
Okay. And she came out of it okay?
Yeah, I mean, her parents raised her to be resilient. I mean, I think Fran and I always talk about, I think I knew more about what was happening behind the scenes than she did, because her parents wanted to shelter her
Right.
a little bit. And so when we get together, there's just things that I know that she doesn't. There's things she knows that I don't know. So together we kind of have a complete picture of the puzzle. Fran had relatives that benefited from being, carried up the McDonald's ladder. They were given special privileges to own franchisees. The Marises lent money to many people who went off and became mega millionaires.
Within the structure of McDonald's or other?
McDonald's. Well, they also were involved with Dunkin' Donuts and, some other Greek restaurants, but primarily it was Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And did your friend continue in the restaurant business or no?
No. She went to go work for a big hotel in Hawaii in hospitality, and she knew very quickly that that was a burnout environment, and that kind of the same thing was going to happen with high-end hotels that happened in the restaurant business. She could see the pattern.
Right.
So she actually left there and started her own company called the Activity Center in Hawaii, where they manage all the activities.
Oh my gosh, she owns the Activity Center?
Yeah, which they sold to, I think, Expedia.
Yes, they did. Mm-hmm. They did sell that to Expedia because I've used them before.
Right, so that's another example where it was, boots on the ground, very custom trips planned for all the visitors to Hawaii. And they grew it to a point where Expedia and others were interested in it. And they bought it out, and then sort of that custom activity center slowly faded away.
Yeah.
And it turned into more of a scalable tourist operation.
I have personally used the Activity Center and to a snorkel cruise to Molokini off of Maui one time.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It was good.
It was good. What year was that around?
I don't know. I've been to Hawaii, and I don't want to be braggadocio, but my brother lived there, so we went a lot.
Got it.
It was a while ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just had so much fun when she and her partner were running the activity center, because Fran was just so naturally good at taking care of people.
Uh-huh.
She's just like, she's just got this effervescent personality. You just don't want to leave her sight. She just makes everything great. And that was what was great about that. They knew everybody. So every time we would go to Hawaii, we would just get, royal treatment. But they were just great people.
Wow. So that interesting arc that she was a survivor. She did everything she needed to do to maintain her life and lifestyle. That's great.
Yeah.
The parents okay after the bankruptcy, or was it a heartbreak?
I think it was a bit of a heartbreak, but were they okay? Absolutely. I mean, they were, when you're an entrepreneur. So there again, even though they were franchise owners, so technically not entrepreneur, it wasn't their business, but they were entrepreneurs because...
Did they own the real estate?
No, corporation did.
Oh. So they were the franchisee, and they had the contract, basically, for probably 5 or something years. Every time, and they'd re-up. So this is my guess, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that after a certain period of time, the corporate wanted to take over. Mm-hmm. So they probably raised the franchise rate insanely.
That's right.
And then they also probably raised the rent, and you had to deal with their vendors from then on in. And so there was no way you were going to make it. They squeezed you out.
They squeezed you out. And so I also liken that to what's happening today. People don't realize their cable bill has gone up, 20% because they're not used to looking at it. So let's just back up to McDonald's. Because I worked in the office, I would see all the supplier invoices. And you literally watched, a repair for the ice cream machine go from $200 to $2,000.
Right.
Right. So that meant that, part of what changed in my job is we were just meticulous about how we handled the machinery, because what was also happening is new machinery was entering the McDonald's because they were technologically advancing. Mm-hmm. Right? So they were wiping out some of the old machines that you could actually repair yourself.
Right.
With machinery that had computer boards that you could not repair yourself.
No, the McDonald's tech would have to come over.
Right.
Before I forget, I don't know if you noticed, but at the front door, Marvin is on vacation. We have Enrique up there, who is not as personable as Marvin. Marvin, apparently, according to Mr. Friedman in 11A, said that he has gone to Venezuela to quote Marvin, to find out what this shit is all about and find some nice Venezuelan ladies. So,
things could be changing around here.
Good luck, Marvin.
We might have to change locations.
Enrique's not finding the love that Marvin gets around here. So
no,
I'm sorry, Enrique.
He's not.
You're gonna have to deal with the mailman yourself.
Anyway, he's got to get more of a personality. That's just it. I think we're all waking up to, your personality and how you interact with people actually does matter to the quality of our life.
It does. And Enrique's kind of an NPC. He just kind of just does his thing. You don't interact with him enough. And he says hello occasionally. So anyway, we'll move on. Sorry. So to interrupt with that news of the Essex Hotel. So the bankruptcy seems to be like they put a stranglehold on them then.
Well, let's just look. There were many lawsuits during that time period. There were lots. And, I could look into them, but anybody can look at this. So it was a time when there was definitely a decision, a corporate board decision, that the older franchisee owners were going to be slowly moved out, right?
Did they offer to buy him out at any point?
Not these guys.
Why? Were they too successful?
I think they were too successful. So you'd have to ask the question, why are they even being bought out?
Right.
Okay,
right,
because
right,
they
right.
had so much historical knowledge on how they helped build what made a very successful corporation. I don't think McDonald's would be what it was without that custom touch, that family touch. As I had mentioned, all of their stores were different. So their stores basically blended in to the environment.
You mean there wasn't the iconography that we currently know, but they would have the golden arches maybe?
Yeah, they had the golden arches, but when you walked into them, they basically, designed each location to have some sort of personality. So you were allowed to do that. You were allowed to augment the interior, to a certain degree. It had to still fall within the McDonald's
look and feel, basically.
But there was autonomy in terms of pushing the boundaries to allow your own personality. So, when something is corporatized, or when they make the decision we're going in this direction, then what is required is uniformity.
Right.
Across the board.
Right. I get it. And that's what they wanted to do. Now,
because it's easier to maintain.
So do current people who are in McDonald's, are they all corporate stores now? All of them globally?
Yeah, I think so.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we're talking about, that was 1977 and we're in 2026, and now the move for McDonald's is all automated. You go place your order through an ATM screen. And your food is served by a robot. They're doing that all over the place.
Or you use the app, which I actually kind of like because I do go there occasionally. It's easy. Well, I just find it fascinating. Now, systematically, what they use for systems, did you carry that forward in your career? Like, what were the powerful learning lessons you got out of the relationship there?
So, I mean, there is definitely an advantage to, the sequencing, the process, the procedure. Like once you get a task down, you as a human can repeat it quickly. The location of all of the equipment has to be like a well-styled kitchen. When you've got the oven next to the refrigerator and the sink is over here, just prep and everything becomes easier and it becomes a more enjoyable experience. So I definitely learned a lot about process, procedure, efficiency that was still human. Like, it was fun.
Yeah. Did they use real potatoes for the French fries back then, or was it like the goop potatoes they get in plastic and then they throw them in the fryer?
I don't know. I think they were real potatoes back then. I do. I mean, they came in a bag and they were delivered by that wholesaler.
Okay.
But I wasn't studying the biology of the potatoes.
And I'm sure you've heard that they're bringing back one of their all-time favorite items, the lava-like apple pie, that is being brought back finally.
I don't eat at McDonald's anymore.
I know, you told me. Oh, for other reasons. This is not because you didn't like McDonald's. It was just too much McDonald's at one point.
Yeah. I mean, for all of you, I did go there almost every day for 15 or 20 years, and I had a sausage McMuffin with egg for breakfast.
Which rules, by the way?
It does rule. It's so good.
It's still good.
Yep. And then I had a quarter pounder without cheese, without pickle for lunch. And I say without pickle and without cheese because then they had to make it fresh. It wasn't sitting in the bin.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've also heard if you order a quarter pounder with cheese and you ask for the bun that goes on the fillet of fish, it's all fresh.
What?
Yeah, it's a little hack.
I didn't know that one.
I've heard this. I'm not sure if it's true. Might just be urban myth. I don't know.
Yeah, so, McDonald's was known for, maintaining unusually strict control over the franchise operators because uniformity was considered central to the brand. That was like in their ethos. And Ray Kroc himself emphasized standardization and operational consistency above almost everything else. So here you've got, this iconic leader basically saying this is the way we're going to, just rule the world in the fast food business. And I would say that Ray Kroc, he's a character, right? He's a part of the corporate introduction into an environment. And, you could say that he's very much like a Bill Gates or a Steve Jobs. I mean,
sure.
They come in, they've got these personalities, and they are mavericks, but really they're in there to control the situation.
Well, according to the movie, Ray loved control. Mm-hmm. I mean, he did a number on the McDonald's brothers, that's for sure.
He sure did.
What else? You sent me some other things about, the time there. I mean, systems-wise, and then it was very organized. It was very, process-oriented.
Yeah, but let's step back and say every American family fell in love with McDonald's because it was a place you could take your family. You had environments where they could play outside in, those little parks. You could actually afford the meal. It was a really enjoyable experience.
And he did the first McDonald's Fun Park or whatever they called it.
Yeah.
It's a little playground thing for kids.
I mean, the Maris's had the playground, and that was a big deal. I remember, them being able to have a playground on one of their stores meant that, they earned it. So everything about it was family oriented, right? And so when you have a family working their hardest, not just for the corporation, but for themselves, right? Everybody had great lives. So it's kind of like you get used to it, and then when things change, it's like the slow boiling frog. You don't even realize that your leg is burnt off until it's like...
So that's what happened.
That's what happened.
Was it a surprise at all to them, you think?
I think it was, because I think, number one, they just could not believe that they had spent their entire adult life working for this organization and then just be dropped. So I do think it was, I got to see both of them, to see a man like Mr. Maris almost have tears in his eyes And it's not tears because they don't have money. It's because the betrayal that they felt was
right.
just, it was so real. I mean, this was their entire life.
Can you read that? Can you read that snippet from the newspaper about him winning the Man of the Year award? Well, I'm going to adjust something while you're doing that.
Okay.
It's very interesting. I read it through it and was like, wow, this guy is super interesting.
Let me just find it. Yeah, I mean, he was a Marine. He was Greek. I think he was first generation. I don't even know. I don't think he was born here.
Did you find it?
I'm looking. Okay, so here we go. Give Man of the Year award to James Maris. And so it says, James E. Maris of Olympia Fields, owner and operator of 8 McDonald's restaurants in the south suburbs, will be honored as the Man of the Year by the restaurant division of Israel Bonds on May 23rd at the banquet. Whoa, Latham's adjusting my microphone. We'll put this in the show notes, but, it basically, it just, I think the reason they gave these awards out back then is because it mattered. It mattered that your integrity matched your performance.
Yeah.
Okay, and it wasn't just a once-a-year thing or a photo op. You were basically graded on your merit.
Yeah, and it does sound like he was a good man, too. I mean, you have admitted that you lived at their house a lot.
Well, we all lived at each other's houses, but, Fran had a swimming pool and tennis courts and all that stuff, so she always invited us over. And so I did grow up in that house.
Did you say tennis courts? They had more than one court?
No, sorry.
Okay, I was going,
tennis
wow,
court.
They did well for those McDonald's, my God.
Well, it's like anybody right now. Look at all the people who have achieved a certain amount of fame in their business and wealth. They go out and build a McMansion. So I just happened to be at the beginning of the McMansion.
That is so funny. Did you start saying that to people?
Yeah, I say it all the time.
No. Back then, did you start this shit? Or did someone call it a McMahon? Who first started saying that?
They called it the Maris Mansion. I would call it the McMansion because in my eyes, I was watching things grow. So every time something kind of grew to a point of being super duper, I'd call it Mick.
Right.
Right.
But I wonder if it started taking on fire when you started saying McMansion.
It could have, because any of us, if we put a thought out into the field and we say it more and more and more, it literally takes on a life of its own. And everybody who knows me knows that I'm like, oh, here we go. People are building McMansions again.
Yeah.
And, they would look at me like, Sarita, that's so, like, what's your problem? Do you not like wealthy people? And I said, who needs a McMansion?
This could be such a long conversation. I just saw some house yesterday or today on the net, and it was like, oh, this house is $20 million. It's 7,500 square feet in the main house and another 5,000 square foot guest house. 13 bathrooms, 22 bedrooms. And This is like, what is that? Why? Do you run a boys' school?
Well,
I mean, my God.
Right. Exactly. Are you running a boys' school?
Yeah.
Or a girls' school? Because why do you need a house that big? But look at it. That was marketed to people. If you have achieved a certain level of success, and we've talked about this with boats and airplanes, then there's a checklist of things that you have to buy in order to now live the part of that successful person.
Live the dream.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I understand, these Greek immigrants wanting to show off their house and decorate the house. I mean, they had fun decorating that house. And they actually let a lot of people come in that house, to learn about McDonald's, to learn about their story. It's not like it sat empty all the time. But again, that was a long time ago. And so it was actually very aspirational for the McDonald's managers because they could see, being a McDonald's manager wasn't just a slacky kind of job. You could actually do well.
Yeah, I think, managers moved up. The whole thing moved up. You started at the bottom. You literally moved to the top. You had ambitions. I think that still exists probably a little bit, much like they do at In-N-Out Burger. And I think In-N-Out just basically copied McDonald's because In-N-Out was from, if I'm not mistaken, they're from Riverside County as well.
Yes, they are.
So that's incredible, that these two just powerhouses. But the big difference for In-N-Out was they have always been corporate. They started that way.
Right, but their corporate ethos
They're family owned.
was right. And so it's interesting. So what I saw happening is when McDonald's started to get really, really corporate, you saw the quality change within the store. You cannot deny it, right?
Yeah.
But it's subtle. And so there are some people who are like, you know what, McDonald's isn't the same anymore, right? So I'm not going to go as much as I did. We all have our preferences, and when we see a change, we're like, well, what happened? How come the service is a little different?
Well, my point of view is that they're actually better now.
McDonald's?
Yeah, they're cleaner, nicer inside. I think we went through that late 70s and 80s, 90s thing where they got really janky. They're not cool. They're just, that big long countertop. You can see the kitchen in the back. I'm sure that's very, they're not doing that anymore.
No, and you're right, because it does take a lot to maintain the older stores.
Yeah, it does.
But that's also because technology has advanced, right? So as technology advances, the Luddites should not ignore it because it's here, right? And so there's a lot of operational efficiencies that have happened with McDonald's, and then there's other things that aren't so great that we may or may not know about. But, the fact that I was there at that time watching the technology come in, the customer base change, the old historical knowledge being moved out and pushed out.
Yeah, the whole thing changed.
The whole thing. And so you asked me, how does this play into everything else? Well, I didn't know until I looked in the rear view mirror and started to see what all the patterns were between all the places that I worked.
Let's do this. Let's wrap this one up because we're going to move right into the next episode, which you can listen to next, would be about, I believe you went to Spiegel catalogs after that, right?
Well, after McDonald's, I went to Indiana University, and I think we should jump to Spiegel. But the thing about IU is I was there at a time where I would say the beginning of celebrity coaches really started to take off with Bobby Knight.
Especially in the Midwest.
Yeah, but Bobby Knight, look, he was like, nobody even knew who the coaches were until they really started to give him a lot of TV time about his temper, his fanaticism.
He had a great temper, man. Bobby Knight, a legend.
Yeah, so IU was kind of a, John Mellencamp became big while I was there.
Now Caitlin Clark, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or did she go to Iowa? I can't remember.
Iowa. She went to Iowa.
But now she plays in Indiana, so there you go. Well, so the takeaway, and I think what we're doing on these episodes, linking Sarita's career in a kind of a soothsayer of what is to come with, in the zeitgeist and the culture, because you mentioned to me earlier today that you were kind of following a different model than your coworkers and friends because they were stuck or wanted to be in a position forever. Well,
yeah, I said during our time, it was really important that you stayed in a job for many, many years. And so early on, I was hopping from one thing to this, to this, to this, because I was curious. And so it wasn't really that I couldn't stay somewhere. It was just that it was kind of the end of something. So when something comes to an end, if you stick around, you're going to kind of go down with the sinking ship.
Right.
And so I would just keep moving because I'm always curious. So that skipping around actually gave me witness to these transitions happening before they became known in the public.
There's the other fascinating thread amongst all the companies you've worked for. All of them, you hit kind of at the golden era. All of them have basically ceased to exist in their form that was once there. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say McDonald's, Spiegel, Esprit, and then Lucasfilm or Lucas. The Gap. They all don't exist the way they used to. Mm-mm. None of them. No. So that's a very interesting common thread.
Well, because I was there when the original vision of the founder was there, right? And so when it gets taken over, when that vision gets taken over and that founder gives it away or sells it, you know, you've basically sold your babies.
Right. All right. On that note, let's wrap it up because I'm eager to get to Spiegel because I just think it's a fascinating story. It's like goes along with S&W green stamps. It's kind of the same era. You know what I'm talking about? But little earlier than that. But so until next episode, I'm Latham Woodward. We want to wish Marvin in Venezuela mucho buena suerte and muchas felicidades con las mujeres de Venezuela. And we hope you get back, Marvin. We really are tired of Enrique. Anyway, so until next time, Sarita.
Do you know how much Marvin loves it when you say his name on the radio?
I know. He glows like a little child. He becomes a shy 6'6", 300-pound man. Shout out to you, Marvin, in Venezuela. And so we'll see you next time with our follow-up to this episode on Spiegel catalogs. And thank you for listening. And that's it for today. Say goodbye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Latham.
Thank you. See you next time. Thank you for listening to Talks from the Essex Hotel. We strive to bring you interesting and different guests every week. Please like and subscribe to hear more content from Talks from the Essex Hotel. Until next time, see you then.